Yeah, I got him. I got him to come and spend time with me. So this is Zweli Manyathi. He is my older brother, my friend, my former boss twice, and somebody who has been my role model in banking. Zweli, kunjani?
Mr. Mali, I'm good.
Thank you for being here.
No, I couldn't say no to you.
Zweli, you are engaging young people. We're looking at 30 years into the future. But President Mandela chose a group of you to go and get skills overseas. Can you briefly talk about why he did that and what did you guys do?
Yeah, look, it was an honor and a privilege to be in the cohort I was in. And at the time I got sent to the US, the general idea was this country is going to be liberated and freedom without a cadre of people who are going to be leaders is not going to work. So some of us were sent to the US, and we had guys in insurance and in banking, so it was the financial sector. And many of those people came back to become indeed leaders in these institutions. So the idea of making sure that you've got capacity not only to govern, but to run the economy. So I was lucky to be in that crowd, and we studied as well.
Young people might not know the top universities you ended up studying in to prepare yourself for the career that you wanted. Can you just give people a sense of some of those universities that you went to?
I was very lucky because I was City University of New York, Baruch College. I had an opportunity to go to Oxford, and I had an opportunity to be at Harvard and Wits University. So I was lucky. My base education was with UNISA. I did 2 degrees with them, and then I went on to do all kinds of other stuff. And it really prepared me. It prepared me because you see diversity differently when you're in those universities. I mean, being in Harvard, you have people from all over the world. It's a melting pot of some sort. And spending time in New York, which in itself is a melting pot, really contributed towards, I suppose, appreciation of similarities where there's differences.
Yeah.
So it was great.
You know, what I like about movies on Netflix is that they can go this way and then take you back.
Yeah.
So I want to go to the highest levels of Harvard and University of New York and go to, what is the most menial job that you did in banking?
Well, my first job in banking was a messenger. I used to go and deliver letters and stuff. And yeah, that's where I started.
So here's a guy who grew up in a village and then came to Soweto and then sometimes was dealing with taxis and all of that and ends up being one of the most senior people in a corporate. What does it take to go through all of that to get to the positions that sometimes you might not even have dreamed of?
It's actually very funny because in whatever I have done, I've never thought about what's my next.
Yeah.
I focused on being excellent at what I was doing, and that resulted in being recognized. On average, I used to spend about 18 months in a row, and then I'll move to the next. But it never occurred to me that a guy from Emden in Soweto will potentially be a CEO of some of the biggest businesses in this country. So, but focus is, this is what I need to deliver, do it well, without overthinking the progress. Because sometimes you can be consumed by this desire to be this CEO. I don't want disappointment, so I would rather master what I do and use that as a base to move forward when an opportunity arises. And indeed, the opportunities did arise.
We talk about the democracy and peace and what it ushered to South Africa. But at some point, you and I were very angry activists who were involved in daily skirmishes with the police and daily skirmishes with the army, running away from the police. Talk to us about what is it that those founding fathers said that persuaded us that a future with peace is a better than an environment of violence and conflict.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes when people talk about we need to fight, they have no conception of the bloody nature of a war and violence. You and I went through those moments that we never want to go back to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I suppose there are these people that I used to call peacetime heroes. You know, some of us who, of necessity, had to participate in a fight against the Nationalist Party government. We experienced pain. People died in front of us. We lost friends. And some of the friends went into jail and some left the country to go into exile. That was really, really a tough time for us as a country. I can remember I was young. 1976, I was young. But that was the beginning of my life in politics. And you couldn't stay home. I can actually remember, Lincoln, I went to a place called Kwaggafontein, running away from the cops. And in Kwaggafontein, I learned quite a bit. I worked for some guy who was building a bridge. I was one of the laborers. And the next thing I did was drive taxis. But I had to endure not staying home, away from my friends, away from my family. And I was very, very close to my mom. So when people talk about fighting today, it just made me appreciate that people haven't got an idea what damage that does. So for me, when you talk about peace, it doesn't mean that people shouldn't challenge things. When this democracy we have gives us the right to express ourselves. When we disagree, you know, and why must you fight when you have got the ability to change government? That's what we fought for. Now that we've got this, why would you be taking up arms? It makes absolutely no sense.
As one of the most senior people in the financial sector, the CEO of a huge organization, both Green Rod and within the African Bank fold, we've been criticized as business people by saying we want to work with government to find solutions. Others are saying if you do that, you will prop up governments. We've had a view that says in order for our business to succeed, society must succeed.
Exactly.
I mean, can you want to elaborate on that?
Exactly. Look, if you just think about it, we as businesses have, if we play our game right, we can have a very, very positive impact on society. And part of what we need to do is stop being armchair critics.
Yes.
You know, I can tell you it's very, very easy to go and criticize this administration for this, this administration for that. I would rather spend my time figuring out what contribution I can make and the business I run can make towards meaningful change in some aspects of our lives. And I choose to focus on entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I choose to focus on entrepreneurs because if we can get that right, they will create the jobs.
Yeah.
Our tax base increases.
Yeah.
It allows government to invest in social good.
Yeah.
And people must not shy away from creating wealth.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in South Africa it sounds like it's wrong to be wealthy. I would like to contribute towards creating a few millionaires
Yeah.
who are entrepreneurs,
Who build businesses.
who build businesses.
Who employ people.
Exactly.
Who pay taxes.
Exactly.
Now, Zweli, if you think about a company like yours, African Bank, which has got a legacy that arises from entrepreneurship, what is it that you are trying to build to take that legacy for the next 30 years?
It's actually very interesting because it takes me back to days when I was young, when African Bank emerged. The idea was to create a bank that was going to look after communities that were excluded from financial services. And that to me was a very noble idea.
Yeah.
So those men and women who were members of NAFCOC worked very hard to create this bank called African Bank. And the need for a bank such as ours is to really, really challenge ourselves around what can be done to enable South African entrepreneurs to succeed on a sustainable basis. So a bank such as ours has got no excuse. We were born for exactly this.
Yes.
So for us, it doesn't come as a challenging thing.
Yeah.
I'm very proud with the work that we're beginning to do.
Yeah.
And there is no shortage of black entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And they get stuck in the middle of the pyramid because they're too small for the big boys
Yes.
and too big
Yes.
for FDI.
Yes.
So we do transactions that are very interesting, that enable black women to buy into some very, very solid businesses.
So, one of the things that distinguished you in banking was that you were an entrepreneur yourself.
Yes.
You started a number of businesses and run a number of businesses for many years. When you are speaking to young people who aspire to be entrepreneurs, what are maybe the 3 things you want to share with them to understand how to be a successful entrepreneur?
So Lincoln is very interesting because, you know, as entrepreneur, you face a very, very difficult and challenging environment, and you're not quite a corporate.
Yeah.
So you don't have all the resources that we take for granted when we mean corporates. And it is very, very important for people to, right up front, realize that for them to succeed, they need to actually partner with other people. And what I mean by partnering with other people, you want to focus on activities that grow your business, but unfortunately you have got this burden of administrative stuff that kicks in.
Yes.
You got to do your UIF, you got to do taxes, you got to, all of that kind of stuff actually weighed me down when I was running the business.
Yes.
Until I figured out that the best way to do is outsource these things. I actually outsourced. The process of outsourcing itself was a challenge.
Yes.
Because I didn't know who was who. So that's the first thing, partnering with people and knowing what your strengths are.
Yes.
And leveraging those, and take all the stuff that is boring and give it to other people who are professionals who can do it. You know, you've got firms of auditors that can actually, and accountants that can do your books and all that stuff. So do that. And the second piece is that be prepared to work very hard.
Yeah.
You know, it is easier. I mean, people think that entrepreneurship is sexy. It is tough. It is tough. And the last piece that I can say is remember that the people who work here can make or break you. Treat them with respect and dignity. And let them know that you care. And really show that you care. Almost try and create some kind of a family in the business that you run. Because what you need is what I call discretionary effort from time to time. You only get that when people are truly engaged and truly committed as much as you are to the success of your business. So those to me would be, without talking about the technical parts of the business, those are the things that I would actually advise future entrepreneurs consider.
To end off, if you were to give a message to somebody who is despondent about this country, who might want to leave it, or somebody who is thinking of coming back, why are you still here?
I think that's a very interesting question. I have had an opportunity I worked in the US and I could have stayed actually. But the desire to contribute towards a better South Africa for me is what made me not stay there. It is what makes me be here right now. There's a lot of contribution. I was talking about my passion to assist entrepreneurs and support entrepreneurs to succeed is a commitment to making meaningful change in this country. If somebody is thinking about leaving this country, I know a lot of people who have. They always say the grass is greener on the other side. But I also know quite a lot of people who have come back. And people have come back because we are a beautiful nation in any way. And we really do have opportunities here. What we need is, I always say, when a good idea collides with passion, magic happens. We need to have a situation where we really, really democratize, if you like, the ability to go to business. Here's one of the things, though, that I want to say about us as South Africans, which is sad. When we study entrepreneurship, we actually compare ourselves against all the countries. There is this thing that is called the incident of entrepreneurship. What we're measuring there is the number of people who get into business because they want to build big businesses, as opposed to those who are what I call entrepreneurs of necessity. I've lost my job, I take my pension, I start a business. The chance of me succeeding is very, 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 very small. But if I go and say to myself, I'm going to build this business that is going to leverage the opportunity that presents itself, student accommodation, for instance. With NEFTA supporting students, suddenly you have got people who can afford to actually stay in distant places as opposed to being inside, at rest in the varsities. Because the rest, the universities can't build more and more and more. There's an opportunity for anybody to go and build these student accommodations. But if you're going to do that and say to yourself, I can foresee myself running a business that is 10,000 beds. That for me is, and then if you just focus on it and get cracking, you start by one and you reinvest in that. And before you know, you are employing thousands of people. You are employing people who pay taxes in this country, and your enterprise pays taxes in this country. Suddenly we have got more and more, or a bigger and bigger tax base. There are lots of opportunities, Lincoln. You just have to ask yourself, what problem is there that I can solve and make a lot of money out of? Because entrepreneurs are about solving problems.
Zweli, thank you for being who you are, your authentic self. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom. I've had the benefit, as I said, to work with you. Once as a colleague, twice as a boss, and it was incredible. I've traveled the length and breadth of this continent with you, making a difference in businesses on the continent. And we are now partners in business, African Bank and LSAK. And at a personal level, thank you for always being the older brother. And whenever I get excited, you're always the calm one. Thank you for spending time with us, and really appreciate you. And I know the magic you're doing at African Bank is just going to be visible to so many people and the entrepreneurs that need it. Thank you, Mkhulu.
No, thank you very much for inviting me. It's really a pleasure for me to be here.
Yes,
I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for you. I really, on a Saturday, I would rather take a break. But here I am,
Thank you,
working for Lincoln.